Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the world of ChatGPT and how it's shaking up education.
It's crazy. This thing can write pretty much anything. Essays, poems, even code.
Right, and it's caught on like wildfire, over 100 million users in just a few months.
That's insane. No wonder everyone's talking about it, especially in schools.
For this deep dive, we've got research papers, news articles from all over, and even some early reactions from Twitter.
So we can see how people felt at first, all those gut reactions, and then see how the conversation has changed since.
Exactly. It's like a wave of hype that's settled into a more, a more realistic view of what ChatGPT can do, both the good and the bad.
Yeah, the potential's huge, but it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Absolutely. So today we're going to explore those two sides. We'll look at how ChatGPT could actually make education better.
And why just banning it might not be the smartest move.
It might even be a missed opportunity.
Totally. This tool is pushing us to rethink how we teach and how we test in this, AI age.
Let's jump back to when ChatGPT first hit the scene. Remember all those tweets, millions of them in just the first couple of months.
And a lot of them were about education.
It's wild that even with all the talk about how ChatGPT would change jobs and stuff, education was right at the forefront.
It was huge.
And those early tweets, they were pretty positive overall.
Yeah, it was like everyone was blown away by what it could do.
Like a collective, whoa, this is crazy moment.
Especially those who got to try it early on. They were really excited about the possibilities.
But then things started to shift a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, the downsides always take a while to show up.
Exactly. As people dug deeper, the conversation on Twitter got a little more balanced.
More people started talking about, could it be wrong? Could it be used for the wrong things? Especially in schools.
Like, could students use it to cheat? That was a big one.
Big time. Then New York City schools went and banned it.
And that really stirred things up, right? People started debating whether banning it was the right move.
Oh yeah, that became a big turning point in the whole discussion.
It's interesting, though, even with all the talk about the problems it might cause, those really important issues in education, like inequality and how different students learn,
Yeah.
those barely came up in those early Twitter discussions.
Seems like everyone was so caught up in the can it write my essay thing that they missed some of the bigger picture stuff.
It's kind of ironic, right? Everyone's amazed by ChatGPT's potential, but the first thing a lot of teachers thought was, oh, this is going to make cheating easy.
I mean, can you blame them? ChatGPT writing such good stuff makes sense they'd worry about students using it to get out of doing the work.
Absolutely. Schools and universities even started banning it left and right.
And then you had it acing those big tests, the SAT, even the bar exam.
That definitely didn't help calm anyone's nerves.
No kidding. But what if instead of freaking out about this easy button, we look at it as a chance to, change things up?
It's like with calculators, Google, Wikipedia. Same anxieties, right?
Yeah, we freaked out then too, and we figured it out. Maybe instead of trying to get rid of the easy buttons, we should rethink the whole homework thing altogether.
Right. If ChatGPT makes it that simple to get around the assignments, maybe the assignments themselves are the problem.
Exactly.
It's like ChatGPT's shining a light on how we test kids and asking, is this really the best way to see if they're learning?
And you know what? Some experts are saying it's not.
Really?
Yeah. There's this article in MIT Technology Review. It says, assessments were already dead. ChatGPT's just making it obvious.
Wow. That's a strong statement.
It is. Like, maybe memorizing facts and taking standardized tests, maybe they're not that useful anymore, especially when information's so easy to find.
So if it's not about memorizing facts anymore, what should we be focusing on?
Well, can students actually think critically about the information they find? Can they solve problems, communicate their ideas well?
Those are things that, at least for now, ChatGPT can't really do, right?
Right. AI can copy how we talk and write, but it doesn't really get it. It doesn't have the same deep understanding, the creativity, the empathy that we look for in human learners.
So how do we shift our tests and assignments to focus on those human skills?
That's the big question, isn't it? We need to move away from stuff that can be easily done by a machine.
And towards tasks that really require creativity, critical thinking, and working together.
Exactly. Like projects where students design experiments, build things, write persuasive speeches, create art, stuff that really taps into human ingenuity.
And the best part is, those types of assignments are often way more engaging for students.
Oh, absolutely. They feel more real, more relevant to the world outside the classroom.
It's about preparing students for a future where they need to be flexible, solve tough problems, and work well with both people and machines.
It really is. And, that leads us to another exciting aspect of this whole ChatGPT thing.
Okay, what's that?
Its potential to actually personalize learning.
Oh yeah, we touched on that earlier, this idea that AI can tailor education to each student's needs and learning style. That's pretty cool.
It is. It's already happening. Think about it. What if your textbook could answer your questions directly.
Like have a conversation with you.
Exactly. And that's kind of what Quizlet's QChat is doing. They're using ChatGPT to make interactive quizzes that change depending on how you as a student are doing and how you like to learn.
That's amazing.
It's like having a personal tutor that's always adjusting to you in real time. Imagine if every student had that.
That would be revolutionary, especially for students who struggle in a traditional classroom.
Yeah, those who learn differently, those who need a little extra help, this could be huge for them.
And think about the teachers. This could free them up from all the busy work, the grading, the basic explanations. They could actually focus on teaching.
Right, they could be more like mentors, guides, helping students navigate this whole world of knowledge and information.
It's not just about what we learn, but how we learn. And it seems like ChatGPT's got people thinking differently about both.
Oh, for sure. It's pushing us towards a more student-centered, personalized approach to education.
So with all that said, let's switch gears a bit and talk about Singapore. They've taken a really interesting approach to ChatGPT in their schools.
Instead of just banning it, they've decided to embrace it. They're actually teaching students how to use it responsibly and ethically.
It's like they're ahead of the curve. They realize AI is here to stay, and they're preparing their students for a future where it's just part of life.
It's a smart move.
I think Singapore is showing the rest of the world a way forward. It's not about being scared of AI or blindly trusting it.
It's about understanding it, giving students the tools and the knowledge to use it wisely.
Exactly. And they're doing it in really practical ways, like designing prompts that make students think for themselves instead of just taking ChatGPT's answers as gospel.
That's so important to keep those critical thinking skills sharp.
And they're not shying away from AI's limitations either. Remember that story about the students who asked ChatGPT about a soccer game?
Oh yeah, and it got it totally wrong.
Those kinds of real-world experiences are so valuable. They show students that AI, for all its amazing abilities, it's still just a tool. It's not a replacement for human knowledge and judgment.
Exactly. It's not about humans versus machines. It's about finding ways they can work together.
It seems like Singapore is striking a really good balance, letting students explore the power of AI while also being realistic about its limitations.
Definitely. They're proving that AI in education isn't just about teaching technical skills. It's about developing critical thinking, ethical awareness, and understanding the complex relationship between humans and technology.
It's inspiring, right, how Singapore's handling it, showing us how AI can actually make education better, not something to be afraid of.
That whole AI literacy thing they're doing, that's some forward thinking right there.
It is.
They get that AI is going to be everywhere, and they're getting their kids ready for it.
It's like they're preparing them for a world where AI is just like a normal part of life, not some sci-fi thing.
Exactly.
And this brings us back to that idea of personalized learning, something we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
AI tailoring education to each student's needs and how they learn best. That's got huge potential, right?
It's huge. Could completely change how we think about education, make it more engaging, more effective, and fairer for everyone.
So we talked about Quizlet's QChat, but let's really dive into this personalized learning thing.
Right.
Imagine every student having an AI tutor guiding them through their learning journey.
Oh, yeah.
An AI that can figure out what they're good at, where they struggle, give them feedback that actually makes sense for them.
And even change up the lessons on the fly based on how the student's doing?
It would be like having a learning experience made just for you.
Totally.
And think about the kids who don't do well in a typical classroom. This could be a game changer for them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The ones who learn differently need a bit more help. They wouldn't fall behind anymore.
Right. And teachers wouldn't be bogged down with all that, grading, explaining the basics over and over. They could actually teach.
It's like AI could take care of the busy work so teachers can really focus on what matters.
Exactly. Be more like mentors, guiding students, helping them make sense of all this information out there.
It's not just what we learn, but how we learn, and ChatGPT is really making people rethink both.
Oh, big time. It's pushing us towards this, what's it called? Student-centered learning.
Right, where it's all about the individual student.
Personalized education.
Okay, so speaking of pushing boundaries, let's talk about how ChatGPT can create some really cool interactive learning experiences.
Oh, yeah. ChatGPT can be like what's that thing with all the tools?
A Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, Swiss Army knife for teachers. It could do all sorts of things to make learning more interactive and fun.
I like that. So besides just giving information or helping with writing, how can ChatGPT make learning more hands-on?
Well, imagine ChatGPT being like a virtual debate partner in class, challenging students' arguments, making them think harder.
Ooh, that's good. Or what about using it to create, simulations or role-playing exercises?
Yeah, exactly. Give students a chance to actually use what they've learned, make it more real.
So many possibilities.
Tons. ChatGPT could even run creative writing workshops, give students prompts, feedback, help them tell better stories.
It's like having a personal writing coach right there in your computer.
Totally. And it's not just about what happens in the classroom. ChatGPT could support learning outside of school, too.
Right. Think about language learners using it to practice conversations.
Oh, yeah. Or history buffs having virtual chats with historical figures.
It's like opening up this whole world of self-directed learning.
Lifelong learning. It's about giving everyone access to knowledge, making learning more personal, engaging, and, available to everyone.
And that brings us back to why AI literacy is so important, not just for kids in school, but for all of us.
Totally. AI is becoming more and more part of our lives. We all need to understand how it works, what it can do, and what it can't.
We've got to be able to look at information that AI gives us and decide if it's true or not, right?
Yeah, be critical. And we need to understand the ethics of it all, how to use these tools responsibly.
It's about being informed citizens in this world that's, becoming more AI-driven every day.
Exactly.
Now, as we keep going with this conversation, it's important to remember that ChatGPT, as amazing as it is, it's not a magic bullet for education.
Yeah, it's not going to solve all our problems.
We need to be realistic about what it can do and what it can't.
Definitely.
We've talked a lot about the good stuff, the potential, but there are also some drawbacks, some challenges that come with using ChatGPT in education.
Right, right.
Like we mentioned before, there's the whole issue of cheating.
Yeah, academic integrity, making sure students are doing their own work. That's a big one.
Definitely something educators need to think about. But like we said, just banning ChatGPT, that's probably not going to work in the long run.
Yeah, probably not.
It's more about, changing how we test students, how we teach them to use these tools in the right way.
Yeah, teach them to use it ethically.
It's about focusing less on memorizing facts and more on those higher level skills.
Critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, the stuff that's harder for AI to do.
Exactly. And another thing we need to be careful about is bias.
Oh yeah, algorithmic bias. Big one.
These AI systems, they're trained on tons and tons of data, right?
Right.
And if that data has bias in it, then the AI can end up being biased too.
And that could be a real problem, especially in education.
Yeah, if we're not careful, AI could make those inequalities that already exist in our education system even worse.
Or create new ones. We don't want that.
Absolutely not. Imagine like an AI tutor that gives harder math problems to boys than girls just because of some old-fashioned idea that boys are better at math.
Or steering kids from low-income families towards vocational training instead of college prep, just because of where they come from.
We definitely don't want AI making those kinds of decisions.
Nope, not at all.
So how do we deal with this algorithmic bias problem? It seems like a really tough nut to crack.
It's a big one, for sure. I think it starts with recognizing the bias exists. We can't just pretend it doesn't.
Okay, so acknowledge it. Then what?
Then we need to actively try to find it and fix it in the data that we use to train these AI systems.
Got it. So clean up the data. What else?
We also need to be watching these AI systems after they're out in the world, make sure they're actually being fair.
So keep an eye on them, make sure they're not showing signs of bias.
Yeah, exactly. And this is really important. We need to get input from lots of different people when we're building and using these AI tools for education.
Not just the tech people.
Right, not just computer scientists and engineers. We need educators, we need ethicists, we need people from the communities that will be most affected by these technologies.
That makes sense, getting everyone's perspective.
It's the only way to make sure these tools are actually helpful for everyone, no matter their background, their gender, their race, their socioeconomic status.
It's about using AI to make education more fair and inclusive for everyone.
That's the goal, right? Not to make things worse.
Exactly. All these ethical questions, they're really important to think about. It shows that bringing AI into education, it's not just about the technology.
It's about people.
It's a human thing.
Absolutely. And it means we need to keep talking about these issues, keep thinking critically about the values we want these powerful tools to reflect.
It's like AI isn't some neutral force, right?
Right.
It carries the values and biases of the people who create it and use it.
And it's our job to make sure those values align with the kind of world we want to live in, the kind of education system we want for our kids.
So as we venture into this uncharted territory of AI in education, what are the big things that educators, policymakers, really all of us need to keep in mind?
Well, first off, we got to be critical. We can't just blindly accept everything AI throws at us. We need to understand how it works, what it's good at, what it's not good at, and how it could be used in good ways and bad ways.
It's like AI literacy for everything.
Exactly. And we can't forget about ethics. Every step of the way, from collecting data to designing the algorithms to actually using the AI in schools, we've got to be thinking about what's right, what's fair.
And that means talking to each other, working together, and being willing to ask tough questions and face some uncomfortable truths.
Yeah, it's not always going to be easy, but we need to be proactive. Think about the potential problems and figure out solutions before those problems become real.
That's smart.
And maybe most importantly, we need to remember that AI is a tool. It's not the answer to everything.
Right.
It's up to us, the humans, to decide how we use it, how it fits into the future of education.
It's in our hands.
It is. We can use AI to help students learn and grow, to be more creative, to make the world a better place. That's what we should be aiming for.
It really is mind-blowing to think about how AI could change the whole landscape of education.
It is.
We've talked about personalized learning, interactive classrooms, even redefining what it means to be intelligent.
Right.
But with all this excitement, we can't forget about the ethics of it all.
Oh, absolutely. As we bring AI into education, it's not just about what we can do, but what we should do. What's the right thing to do?
Totally. It's like we're opening this Pandora's box, right? This incredible technology with so much potential,
Yeah.
but we've got to be careful about the consequences.
We do. We need to be, cautiously optimistic, embrace the potential, but also be aware of the ethical challenges that come with it.
So where do we even start with all these ethical questions?
Well, one of the big ones is data privacy.
Okay.
When students use tools like ChatGPT, they're sharing a lot of information about themselves.
Right. Their thoughts, their ideas, their writing, maybe even personal stuff.
Exactly. And that data is really valuable to tech companies.
Oh, yeah, they can use it to train their algorithms, target ads, all sorts of things.
Right. And that raises some serious concerns about student privacy.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that data is protected, used responsibly.
Definitely. Students and their families need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used, and who has access to it.
Transparency is key.
Absolutely. And we need clear rules and regulations about student data privacy.
So it's not just about protecting data, it's also about making sure the AI tools themselves are being used fairly.
Right. That's where algorithmic bias comes in.
We talked about this a little earlier, the idea that if the data used to train AI is biased, then the AI itself can be biased.
Exactly. And that can have real consequences, especially in education.
Yeah, we could end up with AI systems that actually make those inequalities in education worse.
Or create new ones. We've got to be really careful about that.
Imagine an AI tutor that gives harder math problems to boys than girls.
Right. Or one that pushes kids from low-income families towards vocational training instead of college prep.
Just because of some outdated stereotypes.
Exactly. We don't want AI making those kinds of decisions.
Absolutely not. So how do we fix this algorithmic bias problem? It seems so complicated.
It is complicated. But I think the first step is admitting there's a problem, acknowledging that bias exists.
Okay, so we can't just ignore it.
Yep. Then we need to actively look for bias in the data that's used to train these AI systems.
And try to fix it.
Yes, clean up the data as much as possible. And then we need to keep watching these AI systems even after they're being used in schools. Make sure they're actually being fair.
So monitor them, look for any signs of bias popping up.
Exactly. And something else that's really important is making sure we get input from lots of different people when we're designing and using these AI tools for education.
Not just the tech experts.
Right. We need teachers, we need ethicists, we need people from the communities that will be most affected by these technologies.
So everyone has a voice at the table.
Exactly. That's the only way to make sure these tools are helpful for all students, no matter who they are or where they come from.
It's about using AI to make education more fair and inclusive for everyone.
That's the goal.
All of these ethical questions, they really make you think. It shows that bringing AI into education, it's not just a technical challenge, it's a human one.
It is, absolutely.
We need to keep talking about these issues, keep thinking critically about the values we want these powerful tools to reflect.
We can't just assume AI is neutral. It's not. It reflects the values and biases of the people who create it and use it.
And it's our job to make sure those values are the right ones.
The ones that lead to a better world, a better future for education.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into ChatGPT and education, what are some key takeaways for everyone listening, for educators, for policymakers, for all of us?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to be critical. Don't just accept everything AI throws at you. Learn how it works, what its limitations are, and how it can be used for good and for bad.
Like you said earlier, AI literacy for everyone.
Exactly. And never forget about the ethical side of things. Always be thinking about what's right, what's fair, especially when it comes to data privacy and algorithmic bias. We need to be proactive, anticipate the challenges, and find solutions before they become big problems.
And remember that AI is a tool.
That's it. It's not the answer to everything. It's up to us to decide how we use it, how it shapes the future of education. We have the power to use AI to help students learn and grow, to be more creative, to build a better world. That's what we should be striving for.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of ChatGPT and education. It's a fascinating topic, and one that we'll definitely be revisiting as things continue to evolve. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those tough questions.